And good morning. I'm Sam Sorbo, and I'm here for the accidental homeschooler. That's you guys, if unless you're actual homeschoolers, in which case perhaps it wasn't accidental. I actually consider myself, in a sense, an accidental homeschooler, even though I entered homeschooling with a purpose. Today we're going to talk about discipline. Discipline is something that is very necessary, and I go into this a little bit in my book. They're Your Kids. I talk about this idea that discipline is for the parent. The parent needs discipline and the child needs discipline. And in fact, it's a challenge. Parenting, as we know, is a challenge. I don't think there's anybody who's disputing that. Discipline is a challenge. And I think that we kind of let ourselves off the hook a little bit when we just sort of consign our children to an institution to raise them, to educate them. I mean, what is raising a child if it isn't the education of a child? Like, yes, there's so much more to raising a child, but let's face it, education is a big part of that because they're children, and the only way they grow into adults, and we would hope that our children would grow into adults, is through their education. So discipline figures very, very strongly in all of this. But here's the question. Somebody wrote to me and asked, what do I do with a child who rolls her eyes at me? What do I do with a child who basically doesn't give me my due as their now confirmed teacher and parent, or parent/teacher? And it's true, during the coronavirus thing, we've got an upheaval of the paradigm. We have actually an enormous shift in the paradigm. Now, it may just be temporary. You may be very, very determined to send your children back to the institution to continue their education when this is all past. But in the meantime, you're stuck at home because you can't run away, and they're stuck at home because they can't be sent away. And so what do you do with children who don't respect you, who don't respect your authority? And so I wanted to talk about that. Is it a character issue, or is it just an issue of authority? This is something that you need to determine. So in my household, rolling your eyes was absolutely forbidden. It simply was not allowed. And it was met with some fairly dire consequences right away. Now, one thing that I've seen parents do is they wait. They think that they're exhibiting a great deal of patience. And boy, do we have that word wrong, right? And so they say to the child, hey, Johnny, stop doing that. That's dangerous. And Johnny doesn't stop. And so they raise their voice. Johnny, you can cut that out now because that's dangerous. And Johnny kind of smiles and keeps doing it. And then they, a third time, and maybe a fourth time, and maybe a fifth time. This actually happened to me. I was in a situation with some friends, and their child was completely misbehaving, and they tried to correct the child several times. And then in frustration, one of the parents turned to me and said, well, what would you do in this situation? And I said, after the first time, I would be there administering consequences. After the very first time of disobedience. If you want to be in a healthy parent-child relationship, you must assert your authority. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to come in swinging or, banish the child to Timbuktu immediately. I'm just saying you must assert your authority from day one. And a lot of parents struggle with this, and I'll just say, I think they struggle with it because they don't feel like they are the authority. But I know that I'm the authority because God gave me my children and gave me authority. So I have His authority to exert my authority. And so when my children were young and I had to discipline them, I would explain to them, I am exerting my authority because if I don't, I'm being disobedient to my authority above. the person that has authority over me. There's a chain of command. And then you're a low man on the totem pole, but I'm also on that totem pole and I'm not at the top. And so when your child starts misbehaving, you need to lay down the law immediately and with consequences. And it's very important that you understand it's calm, it's with a smile, it's not in anger, and it's not in impatience, because you don't allow yourself to get to the point of impatience. What is the point of impatience? So this is something that I actually learned from my kids, which is partly why I'm so high on home education, is because your children can teach you a great deal. And you're missing it if they're away from you for untold hours of every day. I was tutoring a class of seventh graders. I'm in a co-op, and the co-op gets together one day a week, and we have a class. And I was tutoring a class of basically roughly seventh graders. And I would put a godly characteristic on the board every week, and we would workshop it. We would talk about what the word means and how to use it, and why we try to, why it's a good quality to have these godly characteristics. And one day I put patience. Patience is a virtue, right? So patience, I put it up on the board. And we were workshopping it, and the kids were saying, I asked, okay, so what is patience? Patience is being calm, holding quiet, and it's, people struggle with this word because while we all know kind of what it means, we don't really understand the dynamics of that quality, I think. And so I said to the kids, well, what's the opposite of impatience? And of course, they immediately, what's the opposite of patience? They immediately said impatience. And I said, yeah, that's kind of defining the word with itself. So what's another word? And we couldn't come up with one. And I said, okay, so describe it. What does impatience look like? Well, it looks like you get a red face and you're really frustrated and it looks like anger. And that was an enormous epiphany for me. Oh, the opposite of patience is anger. So when you say, oh, I have no patience for my children, does that mean you're just constantly angry at them? People say to me, I don't have the patience to home educate. And I say, maybe God gave you children to teach you patience. Patience is something that you can learn. You simply take a step back. You don't allow yourself. I mean, it's a tremendous conceit to allow yourself to go right into anger. But here's the key with children. Don't even allow yourself to take a step in that direction. Assert your authority before it gets challenged to the point where you get angry. So, the child's doing something wrong. Johnny, cut that out. That's dangerous. And Johnny smiles and keeps doing it. And you get up out of your chair and you head over to Johnny and you grab his wrist. And you say, I told you, you may not do that. It's dangerous. And mommy has to protect you because I don't want you to get hurt. Do you understand? And then you have the child's attention. Now, typically, if the child is 3, that works. When they get to 6 or 7, it gets a little bit more challenging. So perhaps you have a child who never really learned that when they were younger, and they're older now, and they're rolling their eyes at you, and they're thinking that you have no authority. They're challenging your authority. And by the way, that's what children are for. They're here to challenge our authority. And so you need to find ways to calmly and reassuringly assert your authority. So I just asked my kids this morning, I said, so I'm going to talk today about discipline. And what do you think? Give me some suggestions on how to assert your authority in the house. What do you think I should tell parents this morning? And one of my kids said, well, a bar of soap in the mouth is a very effective training tool. Yes, a bar of soap in the mouth is a very effective training tool. Another one said a stern talking to. I'm like, yeah, well, a stern talking to worked for that one because that child was always very busy punishing punishing themselves because they knew when they did something wrong and they felt so convicted about it so a stern talking to was plenty, right? One of them said a slap from down under. I think we all know what that means. And then one child said, you reset the password for the internet. And I thought, now that's very clever. Why is it clever? Well, it cuts off the internet for the child, and then they don't get it back until they earn it. But the other thing that it does is it makes a statement of whose internet is it, right? Now, you can have all the games you want, but you can't get on the internet. Maybe I did give you that TV. Maybe I did give you that gaming console, right? So you're claiming it as yours now. But the fact is, everything the child has come from you, and you have authority over it. I know parents who have gone so far as to clean out the child's closet, leaving the child with 2 outfits, one to wash and one to wear, so that they could alternate between the two. Sometimes you have to take drastic measures to assert your authority. And is that going to be a fight? Yes. But do you have to get angry? Do you have to get frustrated? Do you have to get upset? Do you have to lose your temper? No. No, you remain implacable. You assert your authority. So when my children said to me, Mom, Latin is awful. I hate Latin. It's too hard and I don't like it. And it's a dead language. And I know it's dead because it's killing me, and all of these terrible whatever jokes about Latin and how, and each one, by the way, went through this. And to everyone, I said, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, but you're going to do Latin because it's really important. Oh, Mom, but it's a dead language. It's not important at all. You don't know. I said, no, you don't know because you're a child and I'm an adult and the decision is mine. The decision is not yours. And then it was, I forgot to do my Latin. Oh, well, then I forgot to give you the password for the Wi-Fi. Or, well, then you get to clean the kitchen tonight, or something, right? And you always tie it with consequences, and you always stay calm. There's no reason to ever be upset with your kids. I mean, okay, your child runs into traffic. Yes, you go and you grab that child and you're very angry and frustrated, and that is useful to teach the child the lesson that they don't disobey you by running into traffic. Absolutely. But for the most part, your children should never have to see you angry, should never have to see you with that face towards them, right? Because you love your children. You love them and you're asserting your authority because you love them. We're disciplined in our lives all the time by a God who loves us. And sometimes it's really, really hard. In fact, I think this is some of it right now. It's not easy. It's not easy being home all day with children who you've barely seen. And now you have to educate them because that's what the system says. They must be educated and they must receive this education and it must all be the same for every child. I actually get frustrated at that. The questions that I'm getting from people are, and I will get to them. I will be doing more videos. In fact, I think tomorrow morning I'm going to do a Facebook Live just for fun, just to mix it up a little bit. Okay. Are your kids throwing temper tantrums? Okay, first of all, let's talk about phases. There is a season, right? There are seasons. We have seasons in our lives. Right now, you're in the season of being a parent to children of a certain age, right? Eventually, those children will not be of that age. So you will no longer be a parent of children of that age. You'll be a parent of older children. I went through a season where I had play dates with moms because my children had play dates at their houses. And so I would bring the kids would all have a play date, and I'd sit and have tea with the mom. That season is gone. Sadly, I really enjoyed that season, but it's gone. Okay. So this too, this COVID-19, this is a season. Okay. Keep your eye on the prize. This season will be over. Now, what do you do with this season? Let's try to make something of it. Let's try to create something wonderful from it. rather than mope around and be discouraged and be frustrated and complain. Okay, so in the next 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is until the end of the school year, let's make the assumption that we are back in school next fall. Okay, so in theory, you're only doing this for now. Okay, for the next 2 months. Give yourself a break. You're not going to get it right. You're not going to get it perfect. Perfect is the enemy of good. You're just going to do this day by day. And by the way, I think we'll be back much sooner than most people are predicting. I think that the idea that this is a never-ending saga is whatever the word is, nonsense. And so I think that it's reasonable, at least, to have this kind of timeline that next fall they'll be back in school. And by the way, next fall, when they're back in school, they'll be in the same boat with all the other kids who were homeschooled by their parents, who were pulling their hair out because they didn't know what they were doing. So if you want to compare yourself to the status quo, you're doing just fine, right? You're doing just fine, because I guarantee you're doing better than 44% of the parents out there, and maybe not as well as 9% of the parents out there, but you're in the middle, right? Right? Can we just say that? So give yourself a break and give your temper a break, right? Are you losing your temper? Stop it. That's an indulgence that you can't afford. You have to live with these people for the next couple of months in quarantine. So put your temper aside. It serves no purpose except to hurt you, right? Anger doesn't hurt the other person. Anger hurts you. Okay. So everything is a phase. Ask yourself, are you a good person? Do you love your kids? If the answer to those 2 questions is yes, then you're doing fine. Just keep at that. Just keep reminding yourself of that. You can't mess this up in 2 months. You're not going to ruin your child in 2 months. Okay? Compare yourself to the schools. Perhaps you're teaching multiple children. In fact, I'm going to do a separate feed on just teaching multiple children as opposed to teaching a classroom full of children, right? You're not comparing apples to apples if you're trying to compare yourself to what the schools in theory get done. And by the way, that's a theory that they get that stuff done. It is not, these days, it's not being borne out to be true, certainly not for every child, right? That's why we have people who keep talking about, the inequality in our schools, because there is no equality between school children. They keep trying. They put Common Core in to do that. But what Common Core does is it dumbs everybody down to the same level, which is awful, which is terrible, and I don't support it. Okay. Let's see. You're human. You're not perfect. So give it up. Stop trying, right? Just give yourself a break. And then there's this. Many people say that this is really difficult. And I push back on that because I believe that when you label it as really difficult, you make it so. You make it so. So stop saying, this is really hard. When you wake up in the morning, say, I'm going to have the best day of my life today because I get to spend the day with my kids. Start the day that way and you'll have a better day. You just will. That's actually, I don't think that's in my They're Your Kids book. But it's a good lesson. A positive attitude goes a very long way. So if you have set up to do 20 things with your kids and you only get 10 done, say, yes, I got 10 done. Don't say, but I wanted to do 20. Because what do you know? How do you know that you can get 20 things done? You don't know. So you make your list. You say, I'm going to try to get these done. And then with everyone you check off, you have a little celebration. And by the way, bring the kids in on that. Have them celebrate with you. That will go a long way towards the discipline issue. If you engage them in this journey with you, and have the critical conversations with them. Say, look, I know that you're not used to me being the authority, but right now I am. That's my job right now. And so we're going to do as much school as we can get done because I don't want you to just completely come off the rails. And I need your help with this because I know that you want a bright future for yourself. I know that you want to have a happy life. And my job is to see that you can get there. And so I'm going to do the very best that I can. So any flack that I get from you, any pushback that I get from you is really counterproductive for you and for me and for our situation. So let's try to work this out together, okay? If you really have a problem with doing the essay that I'm assigning, let's talk about it. Maybe we can come up with a different essay topic that's more interesting for you. Or if you really have a problem with not being allowed to play games because you didn't get your Latin homework done, we can talk about that. But the fact is, this is your list of things that you have to get done today. And so if you don't finish it, do you really deserve a reward? Because that's what playing games is, right? And so we're going to work off of this work reward program. And seeing as I'm the authority, you're going to have to talk to me about bending the rules or changing things up. And then finally, I did a video about this. You can be the hero, right? You set yourself up with the authority, and then you can use that authority to be the hero, okay? So it's kind of a game. It's kind of a game. Okay, let's see. We talked about that. You exert it calmly, strongly. Oh, and with purpose. I missed that last one. With purpose. Don't be like, so it's not abusing authority. It's not like, well, you're going to do the dishes and then you're going to mow the lawn and then you're going to vacuum all the carpet because I have the authority and I can tell you exactly what to do. That's not what this is about, obviously. So with purpose. So if there's some misbehavior, then you need to have a very calm, strong conversation with the individual and assert your authority. And you better be clear on what the consequences are. And they need to match the offense. Okay? So, and that's for you to determine. But you know the rules. In theory, you've set rules. If you haven't set rules, oh, well, that's a good place to start. Then maybe you need to, if you have older kids and you've never set rules and they don't know what the rules are, that's a disaster. So sit down, write down the rules, call a family meeting. This is a great time to have family meetings, to have family prayer, to have family Bible readings. This is a great time to use to bring the family together as a unit. So if you need a list of rules, like we have a rule, we don't have games during the day. We don't. Games in the evening. And I found out that there were games during the day the other day. And the idea was, well, we're on quarantine, so I figured I was allowed. And I'm like, no, because that means that you're getting more than an hour of games a day, and I think that that's excessive. So no. So we had to walk that one back, right? So you can do this. You just need to, maybe you're in a position where you need to relearn how to be an authority. And obviously in all of this, you solicit your spouse's aid if you can avail yourself of that, and you form a team so that the one of you isn't undermining the authority of the other, right? Okay. Questions. If you have questions, go to samsorbo.com. I love the questions. I love them, and I'll get to them, I promise. But I'm doing one of these videos a day, and then I'm also doing the other videos. It's a lot. I'm also, just promoting homeschooling everywhere. So if you have some place where you would like me to speak, also samsorbo.com. You can email me there. I get the emails, and I'll answer as best I can. I also do a radio show. It's live weekdays at 10 a.m. So that's coming up pretty soon. And it's at mojo50.com. And if you miss the radio show, which is sort of more current events and education, you can find it at the podcast is at mikeonline.com, which is a Salem Media, Mike Gallagher's website. You can find it there. Just look for the Sam Sorbo podcast right there on mikeonline.com. samsorbo.com. If you want anything about my husband, it's kevinsorbo.net. His movie, Before the Wrath, is a fantastic documentary about the book of Revelations and things along that line. It's trending. I heard it hit number 5 on Amazon and overall movies, which is crazy. But everybody's staying at home streaming. And by the way, if you haven't seen Let There Be Light yet, please go. It's streaming on Amazon. You will love it. It's really good. And then you'll want to go buy the DVD, which is good because I want it to become an annual or a perennial, I guess, favorite for Christmas. Monday, next week, be back here at the same time, 9 a.m. I'm going to do more Q&A. I'll be talking about teaching virtue, teaching to multiple grade levels next week, that perfect is the enemy of good for next week, engaging children to become adults, and insecurity and self-criticism. We'll finish the week with on a high note for parents who are entering into another weekend going, what did I do this week? Nah, you've got this. You can do it. All right, samsorbo.com for more information. Please subscribe to these videos and share them with your friends because I do want to get the word out. Homeschooling is the best. Full stop. Homeschooling's the best. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you back here Monday at 9. Thanks for joining me.